It's so fun and almost surreal that we're joined today with Michael Strat. To say he's an old friend of mine and certainly one of my favorite friends is an understatement, probably. He is the epitome, I think, of entrepreneurship, and I've never known him to have a real job. So I'm very anxious to actually see how this thing goes tonight. So, Michael, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And where exactly are you at right now?
I am in Clarkston, Michigan.
Clarkston, Michigan. Okay. Yep. Which is kind of north of Detroit. A
little northwest of Detroit, like halfway between Detroit and Flint.
Got you. So, one of the ways I want to start all of my guest speakers is with just a couple, it might sound odd questions, okay? But just bear with me because I want to, it's like a theme I'm doing here. So right. The first question is, what would the first word would come to your mind when you think of the word business? The first word that comes to mind when you think of the word business.
Systems, right? Because that's what we're always focusing on, our business systems. I mean, that's a term we use a lot in our business, right? Business systems. The way, I mean, our competitive advantage has always been the way we do things, doing things better, having better systems, better approaches to things. So for me, it's business. The easy word that always follows is business systems.
Really? Are you talking about, and we'll talk more about exactly what you do, but you're talking about like your workflow and just having a routine or,
I mean, that's everything from, we've always kind of been involved in tweaking or developing our own software. So it's not just software systems. It's measurement systems. It's sales systems. It's how we're big believers that everything we do should be systematic, right? There should be a process, a set way that we found that's kind of like the successful recipe, so to speak, of a methodology of doing something. So we're very system driven.
All right. Interesting. I might come back to that a little bit as you tell us about what we do. Okay, so here's the second question, and it might be related, but I want you to go a little bit deeper. What's the second word that comes to mind when you think of business?
I think for most people, it comes down to commerce or, I guess I would, as I started to say that I'm even retracted from that. Maybe it's interactions or relationships. I mean, when in business, you're dealing with the people you work with, the people that are your customers, the people that are other people that are benefiting from what you do. What you hear a lot of businesses refer to as the stakeholders, right, of a business. So stakeholders is a term as opposed to shareholders. Stakeholders are everybody who's affected by the business, right? So that's the people who use your products or services. It's the people who own the thing. It's the people who work there. It's the family of the people that work there, right? It's everybody who's affected. So that's probably, at a core, that's really what it's all about. But of course, it's all driven by people wanting to make money. People come to a job not to interact with people on its own, right? They're there to make money ultimately, but also to do it in a way that they enjoy spending their lives.
Well, I can see, as an employer, you're competing for employees all the time. I'm sure, they're not going to work for somebody who doesn't, give a darn about them, I suppose. Yeah. So I can see where that would be a thing. So, and we haven't even talked about your current, what you do right now. So would you mind taking a minute to just, give me a synopsis of what your current business or businesses, and I have a feeling, seeing how I know you quite well, I think there's a couple things going on there. So can you tell me what is going on? And remember, we're talking to high school students that might not know. So, let's just, keep it at a core level, but let's see what you're doing.
So, what our core business is centered around what's a product called title insurance, right? And it sounds like, it's a very vague sounding thing. And until you buy a house or are involved in something to do with real estate, you won't have any idea that the product exists. A lot of people don't even know anything about it until they buy their first home, which sometimes is not until your 30s or 40s, right? So essentially what a title company is, in the end, it's really the people that handle the sale or financing of a property from like a buyer to a seller. So we put all the paperwork together. We make sure that everything gets signed that needs to get signed to transfer ownership and to to get people to own their home.
Like the legal stuff behind this.
The legal stuff.
Okay, so I'm a high school student. I'm sitting here and going, how can you make money at that? I mean, how many people, buy and sell a house? There can't be that much business out there.
Yeah. There's thousands and thousands. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's so the weird thing about title. You hear me say that we're a title company, so title in real estate is not like a car title where you have a piece of paper and you say, "See, this says I own it." Title is a very abstract term in real estate. What happens when you hear somebody say, "Oh, I have the deed"? Well, a deed is not like a car title. A deed means that the person that you bought it from gave you whatever ownership they had. But you have no guarantee that they owned the house to sell it to you in the first place, right? So what title companies do is they make sure that the person that you're buying the home from really does own it, right? There's a very complex system of recording these legal documents in public records. They're all housed in county courthouses all around the country. And at a core, what a title company does is it does the research to make sure that who owns it and are there any liens on it. And a lien is something like if you own money on a home and you don't pay that, a lien gives somebody the right to foreclose, take your house, and kick you out. Like a lien is basically you use your home as collateral for money. So if you don't pay your home loan, it gets taken. Your home can get taken away from you, right?
So correct me if I'm wrong. Then a bank is gonna, if a bank is gonna loan me money for a home, they're gonna make darn sure that I have title. It's a clean title to my house, because if they ever take it from me, they don't want anybody else to come back and say, "Hey, wait a minute."
So what our core product is title insurance. So we insure somebody. So if you buy a house for $100,000. You buy $100,000 of insurance from us, saying when you're done with paying that seller that money, you're going to own the home. And if it turns out you didn't, then we got to come up with your $100,000, right?
It sounds so abstract. Does that ever happen?
It's very rare that there's what's called a complete title failure. What usually happens is there are liens or there are imperfections that have to be fixed. You have to hire lawyers, you have to do all kinds of things. So you can't have a lot of expenses in getting these things taken care of. I mean, we paid a $50-something thousand claim not too long ago, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? It's only money, right? Now, yeah. So your core business is title insurance. Tell me about your business. I mean, I know you do a lot of working from home. What's the name of your company? How many people work there? All that kind of stuff.
So our core company, Proliant Settlement Systems is the name. There it is, systems, right? So by the way, it's kind of, I didn't even realize that we put that in there. But so what we do really, we were first a title company. We were in the title business, and we came up with this concept that it turns out a lot of our competitors, or I shouldn't say competitors, a lot of our customers want to get into our business, right? They're thinking, why, like, for example, a realtor that sends all their buyers and sellers to this title company, they see this title company making money, and it's saying, well, why am I sending my buyers and sellers to this title company? I should just open my own title company, and then I'll have these buyers and sellers, and I make money as a realtor, and then I can make money as being a title company too. So they're trying to figure out ways to get into our business, right? So what we did is we kind of developed a way that they can. So we've created, there's nobody else in the country that's doing this. We've created a franchise model where it's sort of a turnkey title company. There's a lot of really complicated things, a lot of regulatory compliance and complicated research that I talked about, handling hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, really. I mean, there's actually like $30 million of money that flows through our escrow account. So what that means is at the closing, when we talk about these people buying or selling a home, let's say it's a $100,000 home, everyone gives their money, the buyer and the mortgage company give the money to the title company, and then the title company pays everybody off. They give the seller their money, they pay off any other mortgages or liens that those people have, pay taxes or whatever is owed. And all this money is flowing through our bank accounts. And it doesn't take much to mess it up to all of a sudden, have a huge problem there. So anyways,
Which keeps everybody from wanting to be a title company,
right,
because
so
they don't want to have the hassle.
One of the barriers to entry. There's a number of barriers to entry in our business, and so we developed a system. We said, okay, let's try to eliminate as many barriers to entry as we can, and allow these people to basically be kind of the storefront. All the forward-facing, customer-facing interaction is handled by our franchisees. We're a title company franchisor. So they can open their own title company. They do all the customer interaction, and we're doing all the complicated behind-the-scenes stuff, including a full turnkey IT infrastructure, software, training, support. We say the support is anything from my printer doesn't work to I don't remember how to do this in the software, or hey, this is a really complicated legal issue and I don't know how we're supposed to proceed, right? So we support them, whatever it is, all the way through. So I don't remember exactly how we came up with it. We came up with it a long time ago, frankly. We had a title company, as you know, Joe. I started a title company instead of finishing college, right? We developed it and grew it to be a pretty big company, and then we merged with this national company. We merged our local operations with them, and it was really me and we had all this great software and systems, and what we didn't know is that we didn't, because we didn't have all these years of experience in the industry, we didn't know how good we were, frankly. So it wasn't until we started sharing our numbers with this national company that they told us just how efficient we were, how much out of standard that was, right? So
that's cool.
Yeah, so the idea that we started brainstorming, me and the regional vice president of this company, was we would merge our company into their Southeast Michigan operations, and then we would take our systems and implement them throughout all of their first Michigan operations and then regional operations, and we would be like the back office doing all this work super efficiently and kind of do exactly what we're doing now at ProLiant, only for all of their operations, right?
Sure. So you and so you have your current company, and I just want to make sure I just briefly talk about that. How many employees you got now?
We are 53 right now. Well, between the two. So I was saying we opened up our own title company again. We really weren't into it wholeheartedly, and then we decided, well, let's look at this model that we were doing for First American Title, and let's see if there's a way we can use this model. And that's where we came up with the idea of this franchise system, this business system that we could sell.
Now you missed one, and I'm trying to make sure that we know how you got to where you are right now. There wasn't there some kind of woodworking business going on there?
Oh, geez, yeah, that was between the two, right? That was in the time between, yeah. So that was a custom wood flooring manufacturer, and we were laser cutting inlays, really super elaborate. Had some really cool giant jobs.
Didn't you do business with people that we hear about? I mean,
yeah. I mean, we've done floors for lots of. I'm trying to remember. I know Alan Jackson. We did a floor for him. There's a big museum at the. It's Johnson Wax, but I can't remember the name of the company. But they did they had a big museum, and we did a floor for them. We've probably the most elaborate floor we did was for a Russian oligarch that had a penthouse in Manhattan, and kind of a funny story. It's all this really super elaborate. If you Google Russian inlaid floor, you Google the Hermitage. That's not how it's pronounced, but I'm saying it that way, so that's how you'd spell it. If you Google that Hermitage floors, you'll see the kind of elaborate inlay that they replicated. They literally spent almost $1 million on these floors, and then they covered most of them up with rugs that were even more expensive.
Oh my! So your target market in that business was like really rich people, and without going into a lot of detail, because
saying, by the way,
what's that?
There's a saying that goes with that. So. It sounds great with rich people and $1 million floors and all that kind of stuff, but you don't make as much money on that stuff as you do on the core business that serves a lot of people, right? So, and the saying is, Let me not butcher this. It's sell to the classes, live with the masses. Sell to the masses, live with the classes. Right.
Oh, all right. I like that. That's really cool. I love that. Okay, I don't want to go into too much detail with the whole wood floor thing. I'm just going to cut right to the chase. It didn't end well.
It didn't end well. No, we did coach the purse leather company. We did 20 or 30 stores for them that were through a broker, and the broker was kind of cutting some corners and creating some problems, and coach sued that broker. And the bottom line is there was a few $1 million of money that was never going to get paid for. And that ended up putting that company out of business.
Now, what do you see your, I never asked you what you do. I mean, what do you see your position in as, at ProLiant? I mean, what is your position?
So, I mean, technically I'm the president of the company. I'm usually the one that's coming up with the vision, right? And then I'm the point person. All the department managers. So we use instead of like a hierarchy, we have what we call an accountability structure, right? That we all hold each other accountable. And at the top of the accountability structure is the title is in the accountability world is the integrator. So my role is not to push down accountability, but I'm integrating everybody. I'm getting everybody to work together to solve problems. We have a leadership team that is kind of all the department heads, and I'm the person that integrates that team, right? So my job is to kind of set that vision, communicate the vision, and then help the leaders solve their problems, give them autonomy, give them as much guidance, as much information, and just help everyone do their best, right?
So when you and a thought occurs to me, when you are talking about being in the a new thing that nobody else does, and you're building it up, and I know you have big plans and stuff like that. How important is it, do you schedule time for strategic planning? I mean, what is that? I mean, because everything in the entrepreneurship thing like yours, it just seems like to me a big cloud, and there's everything out of there, and it's hard to milk that cloud and put it on paper or whatever. I mean, do you schedule time? I mean,
so we have sort of the business system that so we even systemize how we manage, right? So I would recommend a couple. Anybody who's interested in business and business leadership, there's a couple of books I'd recommend. There's a writer by the name of Patrick Lencioni, and there's a book called The Advantage, and he talks about, it's really more for big corporate leadership, but it's really talking about, this is the management system that is transferable, that will get the most. You'll have he talks about the health of an organization, right? So it's not is it efficient? Is it healthy? Is it a healthy organization where people are open and honest, and they don't fear their boss, and all those kind of things? So there's systematic ways to make sure that's happening throughout the company.
Oh, wow.
So really good writer, really good book.
That's really cool.
Business philosophy. And the other one is Traction by Gino Wickman. And it's all about how to really, what we run is kind of a merging of those two systems. And Traction is about having a leadership team and holding each other accountable. And so we meet regularly. We have weekly leadership team meetings, and we have an issues list that we kind of have a set way that we approach these weekly meetings. And then we have quarterly meetings, and then a big annual meeting that's just the leadership team. And those quarterly and annuals are off-site, and we're brainstorming there. And really, what we're, one of the fundamental things that we do at the annual, especially, but at every quarterly, but really at the annual, is we're saying, okay, if we could pick a handful of things that we said, if we get it done this quarter, we're going to be a much better company at the end of the quarter if we can get this thing done. Right. And when we try to identify a handful of those things. The leadership team is essentially 5 people, and everybody takes 1 or 2 of those things, and we call them rocks. It's actually a term that's used in that traction book. So this is your rock. You got to carry this rock for the quarter, and you got to get it done, right? So, that there's a lot of brainstorming and what should our rocks be. Like, you can only do so many things in a quarter to really advance yourself, right? And then it's kind of like a no excuses management kind of thing. Like, you really, if you're taking this seriously, you're going to find a way to get these things done, right? And it takes a little bit of learning. Like, in our first time that we went through and we did this, we all took way more rocks than we could possibly accomplish. Like, yeah, I can get that done, but you also have your daily job. Like, you're communicating with the people you work with, you're solving problems, and this.
So the rocks is doing your job and then pushing the company forward too, is what you're saying.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the rock is the thing that's pushing the company forward, but you can't say I got too busy with this meeting or with that or with this problem that came up and I didn't get my rocks done this quarter. You got to get them done, right? So you got to find ways. So we have these weekly meetings, and part of the weekly meetings is we're saying, okay, how are we doing on our rocks? Now, when the rock is my responsibility, it doesn't mean I'm the one that has to do it. I'm the one who's got to make sure it gets done, right? I got to lead the project, right? So I might say, well, my rock is rolling out this new IT initiative, but I really need feedback from Brooke and her team because I've got some issues, and Brooke, you have way better perspective on that than I do because you're running the department that's most affected by this. So Brooke, I need you to do this thing so that the rock can get completed, right? So I'm leading the completion of the rock. Doesn't mean I'm doing all the work. I'm just making sure that it's going to get done, right?
Well, that actually dovetails real well with, at our level, we look at, goals being specific and measurable and obtainable, and, the whole SMART goal kind of thing. That's a cool way to look at it.
Measurable is probably the most important thing. They're all specific. Again, it has to be specific. This is what we do with our rocks. Is again back to Lencioni and Gino Wickman. They both talk, especially Lencioni talks a lot about clarity, right? You really need absolute clarity in what is it that you're supposed to do. So when we did these rocks, I wrote this thing that said, okay, we're whiteboarding this stuff out, and we're coming up with all these ideas, and then we walk away with these little phrases that are rocks. And then everybody the next day is like, no, I thought that meant this, or I thought that. So the first step of the rock is the person has to define it, bring clarity to that thing. So it's, everyone knows what it is. And the title I put over that is, we know where we are done when, and then they have to say this thing, right? So the rock is completed when this thing,
very measurable, very not subjective. It's really objective.
You're done when this, and you've written what it means to be done with this rock, right? So it's like, we're going to improve the accounting system. No, that's not, that's totally subjective, right? So
think back when, if somebody, and I have students, my students are business, very business oriented. What do you think, tell somebody, or what do you think if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur or maybe just own their own business or whatever, what's the one, what is the most important skill or personality trait or, whatever, what should they work on as a high school student? What skill or personality trait, or, I'm big about getting your attitude right and, doing a good presentation. What do you think?
I think it's communication. I think ultimately it's all about being able to communicate clearly and effectively. And here I am, I'm talking in a million different directions, but it's really all about communication. It's about being able to connect with whoever you're dealing with, right? And that's not just your customers, that's your employees, that's your your vendors, right? I was mentioning stakeholders. Vendors are stakeholders, right? If you buy all your business supplies from this, or you get
true, yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
Like, these are all people that are, and you just have to communicate clearly with them. What are the expectations? Make sure everyone's on the same page, and that doesn't happen with one conversation. That doesn't happen with one email, right? You have to say the same thing 15 different ways, and reiterate. Like, if it's important, it's got to keep you have to keep reminding people, and you have to say it in a lot of different ways. Different people hear messages differently, and I can explain them to you one way. I can explain the same thing to somebody else, and they're not going to get it the way I explain it to you. But I might find a different way to explain it to that person, and the light goes on for them, right? And then I'll bring that back to you, and you'll be like, yeah, I kind of see that, but so
communication, you would say. Now, can you remember back in high school, thinking back, what do you know now that you wish you would have known when you were a junior or senior in high school? Can you think of anything that you wish, if you could go back and go, man, I wish I would have known that back then?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, just from a business standpoint, there's a whole lot of things, right? But if I just focus on a business standpoint.
Like don't go into the floor business with coach or something
I wish I had asked that one girl. No.
You wouldn't have had a chance back then.
No, believe me. So, what I think that I would have really taken the opportunity to learn more seriously, right? There was so many resources there and so many people that wanted to help that I just thought were wanting to force me to do things that I didn't want to do, right? And I honestly, I just didn't take. And you knew this of me when I was at Central, right? I didn't take school. If I enjoyed the class, I really paid attention and enjoyed it and engaged and did well. And if I didn't, I felt like I was being forced to do something. And I didn't recognize that what I was really being given was an opportunity to learn something that would later become valuable. Like, I didn't care all that much about written language skills and stuff like that, and that's hugely important. I just mentioned communication is important, and your ability to write and communicate effectively in emails or in letters or whatever you might be, a good vocabulary, make yourself. People judge you a lot by how you write what you write, right? And being able to do it with good grammar and not having misspellings, even not having the autocorrects put the wrong word in, and you didn't even
that can get you in trouble. Always proofreading your voice to text, probably.
I just think there's so much opportunity that there's with people that want to teach you things. Like people want to help people. It's part of human nature. I think people enjoy helping other people, and there's just a lot of opportunity there that I just didn't recognize.
And I was going to ask you this earlier. Do you think you would have been, what difference would have been had you gotten your college degree? You didn't get your college degree. You didn't had some college. Do you think it made any difference?
I wonder that often, honestly. I do wonder that often. I got to believe the answer is yes, that with more and better education that I would have been able to do things better and faster, right? I do believe that. But at the same time, I think that that wasn't a good path for me. Like I wasn't the personality type that was going to I wasn't an academic kind of person. As much as I loved, I loved my math classes, and there's a lot of classes I loved and I really engaged in, and there's some stuff that I really didn't. And I just wasn't disciplined enough to force myself through it. A little ADD, or a lot of ADD, and but those same things are also kind of what led me to being entrepreneurial and trying to come up with different ways, and that short attention span kind of I think is what always has me in the middle of a conversation thinking about something else that maybe could make this better without listening to the person I'm talking to, right? So I don't know the answer. I will tell you this, that a couple of my partners, two of my most important partners, are the opposite. They do have degrees. One has an MBA and one's an attorney, right?
Oh.
And
is that John? Is John the attorney?
John Apostle is an attorney, and John is a guy that I've known since 7th grade, right? Okay. And he's an attorney, and he is the stay focused, get it done, and that was a super important skill, and his education was really important, and we leaned on that a lot when we needed that throughout our development. So without a partner that had that, and my other partner has a business administration master's, and he's really more involved in all the HR side and all that kind of stuff, and we needed that, right? So
why do I have a feeling you're the vision guy?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's the ADD.
You're the one. So let's make I think we can do a title franchise thing and, sell it to the world. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, I'm going to leave it there because you'll be coming in for questions with my students. And, man, I just can't thank you enough. It's so cool. I mean, I just want to come hang out with you now. But we'll get together. The whole COVID thing will go away and all that kind of stuff. And we'll get together again soon. So, is there any other thoughts that you want to leave with? I mean, I think you really did an awesome job, and to take what better part of an hour out of your night to do this is so cool.
Yeah, no problem. No, I mean, I think just, one thing I would say to everyone that's thinking of going into anything as a job, as a career, is you have to enjoy what you do. I mean, as geeky as it sounds, I have a great time coming up with better ways of doing whatever it is. Like, I love developing systems, right? So I really enjoy my job, right? As boring as it might sound to other people, I really enjoy it. And I think you're not going to be good at something that you don't enjoy. Like, you really, and you hear people say it all the time, I haven't worked a day in my life because I love my job. Well, there's something to that, right? And the happiest people are the people that I think like what they do for a living. And in the end, what it comes down to, what we're all should be working for is our happiness, right? And that doesn't necessarily come from money, right? It comes from what you do with your time, what you do with the people you interact with, how you interact. So, so find something you love, right? And pursue it. And it isn't necessarily, I love, whatever is throwing frisbee, I don't know, whatever it is, I love playing football. Well, not everybody's gonna be a football player, right? So the things that you love might not, you just have to experience as many different things as you can. You'll find that thing and then pursue it, because you need to find that job that you enjoy and that you're going to spend your career on. You spend more hours a day at your job than you do at your home, except for now with work from home. But now it's cool.
There you go.
Oh yeah, find something you love.
That is such good advice. I can't wait till Friday when you come in with questions. But thanks again for taking time off. Time tonight, and I will definitely see you Friday.
All right, looking forward to it. Nice seeing you again.
Bye now.